Today, we're making a completely from scratch peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We'll start with homemade bread in the bread machine, then make strawberry jam in the bread machine, and finish with fresh peanut butter blended in a food processor. To start, I made the bread first so it would have plenty of time to cool. This is a recipe I absolutely love. I'll be sure to write it out below, but it's very simple to follow. I use a 50-50 mix of regular flour and freshly milled flour. I do prefer using hard white wheat for this freshly milled portion because I like that texture. I often get asked why I do the split, and honestly, it's just kind of the best of both worlds. You get the nutritional benefits of the freshly milled flour along with the softness and lightness from the traditional bread flour. I don't mind using 100% freshly milled flour, but it does make loaf a little bit heavier in my opinion. So lately, I've just kind of been enjoying that whole balance of the 50-50 split. Now for this loaf, I did use the Zojirushi bread machine because I wanted it to be a longer shaped loaf. That's one of my favorite things about the Zojirushi. This one did come out a little lopsided, which can happen sometimes, but overall, I really do love the results that the Zojirushi gives. For the KBS, it's perfect for smaller households, especially if it's just two people, whereas the Zojirushi doesn't do smaller loaves quite as well. Also, I wanted to show the paddle marks since I've been asked about those a lot. As you can see, they are there, but they're not too bad. If it does bother you, you can always remove the paddles before the final rise, and that way it'll avoid those marks altogether. Okay, so the bread is finished, bake that in the Zojirushi, and now it's time for us to do the jam, which I'm actually going to use my KBS for because I'm going to do a half batch of the strawberry jam. So the KBS is better suited for that. So I'm just going to chop up 1.5 cups of these fresh strawberries. But while I chop these up, I do want to remind you to subscribe. If you like videos like this, obviously like them. It helps me know what you guys want to see. But yeah, make sure to subscribe because actually the whole reason I'm doing a half recipe is because next week I'm going to be doing a freezer jam, a strawberry freezer jam, which is great for people who are just getting into wanting to preserve, but they're not ready to start canning. Okay, I think just one more, and that will be the 1.5 cups. It looks like a little bit more, but I need to mash this down. It says just to take a fork or a blender and to mash it before we put it in the bread machine. So I'm gonna do that quickly. Okay, just gonna give this a good mash. And you could always use a potato masher. You could use your blender if you just wanted to do a couple pulses and easy, like a small chopper. It didn't say how fine mash it down. So I'm just gonna eyeball it. And I'm not worried about getting it too finely mashed because you actually will take a blender or an immersion blender once it cooks in the bread machine and actually blend it down even further. So I think it just needs to kind of get it started. And we'll get some of these big ones on the side here. I do think a potato masher would have been a little bit easier. That looks pretty good, I think. Okay, so now it's time to start putting everything in the bread machine. I'm just going to put the 1.5 cups of mashed strawberries. Get all that goodness. And then the recipe calls for 3/4 cups of sugar. I looked online and 1/2 of 3/4 is actually 6 tablespoons. So this is 6 tablespoons of granulated sugar. And then this is actually optional, the Sure-Gel or the pectin. This is for the less sugar or no sugar needed recipes. It said it was optional, so we're going with this one. The recipe calls for 2 tablespoons, so I'm just going to add 1 tablespoon. And then finally 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Once everything was in the bread pan, it was ready and I placed it in the KBS bread machine and selected setting 13, which is the jam setting. It's just spinning every now and then. So I guess with the cycle, it's just going to keep mixing when it needs to mix. But we did taste it to make sure it was tasting okay and tastes delicious. So this is very excited about this. Once the jam cycle finished, I realized it had made quite a mess on the inside of the bread machine, but that's okay. That is what cleaning is for. But I carefully moved the pan. It was extremely hot from cooking. Then I poured the jam into a heat-safe jar. I use the Weck jar, but a mason jar should be fine. Just be mindful of the heat. So now we have our bread. The strawberry jam is cooling in the fridge, and now it's time to make our peanut butter. And there's so many different recipes out there for this. Some people add honey, some use unsalted peanuts and add salt. Some people add oil. It really is up to you. There's so many recipes, but for me, I'm using salted peanuts because I have this left over from a recipe a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to use them to have like a crunchy peanut butter. You can actually keep some out and chop them up and add it in there. I want this to be easy, plus my family kind of likes creamy peanut butter, so I'm literally gonna throw these in the food processor and let it go. And it might be a little bit hard to hear, but I'm gonna try to talk into the mic. But right now you can see it's kind of crumbly. You'll see where it's starting to kind of cake together, and then it will slowly become like peanut butter paste consistency. So you do just want to watch it. So now you can see that it's kind of thickening up almost into a ball, almost like dough-like, and you're just going to let it keep running. Yeah, see what it's doing? All right, so now you see the ball is actually starting to turn into the actual peanut butter as it goes through. So you just keep letting it go, and it will slowly there. Oh, I caught it. Look at it turning into peanut butter. Isn't that crazy? It's so neat. Okay, I'm going to taste this and see if it's the consistency I want. It needs to go a little bit longer. You'll see it's not quite as creamy as I want it to be. I don't think I need to add any oil. I think if it just goes a little bit longer, it'll be good to go. All right, it's actually just a little bit saltier than I want it to be. So I'm going to add just a little bit, maybe like a tablespoon or two of my dad's honey from his bees. I'm hoping to get a video this year when he collects his honey, because it's kind of interesting. Okay, this is now the consistency that I want it to be, so I'm just going to transfer this to a jar. Okay, I do want to show you the inside of this bread. I feel like it turned out really, really nice. Now, I do want to say, if you're using any amount of freshly milled flour, it isn't going to be as soft as using all bread flour or all-purpose flour. It still has a little bit of that whole wheat, taste and feel to it. I like it for the health benefits, but it is not going to be as soft, and fluffy as like a fully white bread. But I think half and half is like a really good compromise. Now, this might be a little unconventional, but I actually like to toast my bread for my peanut butter and jelly. So I'm gonna do that really quickly, but I just like the added texture that toasting the bread gives. All right, I just wanna show you the texture of the jam now that it's had time to set. We did try this yesterday, but everything was still kind of warm and it just didn't have that texture that you wanted. But this is what the jam looks like after it was able to sit in the fridge for a little while, so way better. Now for the peanut butter, I do want to point out that your peanut butter is going to taste like the peanuts that you use. So like I use Planters, so it has that Planters taste to it. If you don't want that, then make sure you're using like a selection of peanuts or nuts or whatever you're using that have a taste that you like. So I'm a jam and peanut butter mixer, and this peanut butter was in the fridge, so it's a little bit hard, and you can always add a little bit of oil if you want it a little bit creamier. To me, the whole purpose is being able to add what you want into your peanut butter, and I didn't want extra oil. Okay, please excuse the appearance. It is early in the morning. This is actually going to be my breakfast. Let's see. It's way better after the jam setup. I think yesterday it was just too runny because it just hadn't had time for that pectin and the sugar to gel. This is way better. This is very good. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this is not like the store-bought, your Jiffy, on whole wheat bread. This is a healthier option, but for me, this is way better. It's so exciting to make a homemade from scratch. Easy, pretty easy to be honest with you. I know what is in everything peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So I'm gonna go enjoy my breakfast, and until next time, thanks, bye.